the last leprechaun whisperer in Ireland. And this story started 27 years ago. There was a man called P.J. O'Hare, heard a scream coming from the Cooley Mountains up here. And he went up to investigate. And when he went up, he couldn't find anybody. All he found was that all the ground around a place called the Slate Rock was burned. And in the middle of the burning, he found what he said was a leprechaun suit with 4 pieces of gold in the pockets of it. And a whole lot of bones. And he took it down and he showed it to me. And he told me he thought leprechauns lived on the mountain. I told him that was rubbish. I told him there was no such thing as leprechauns. And I'd prove it to him. I'd get as many people up on the mountain as I could on the one day, and we'd search it from top to bottom. And to get the people up there 27 years ago, I hid £4,000. That's probably, then was about $6,000. And I hid it under 4 toy leprechauns, £1,000 under each one of them. And I sold leprechaun hunting licenses for a tenner. And on the day the mountain was black with people. They came from everywhere with butterfly nets and leprechaun traps.
When was this? How long ago?
27 years.
Oh, yeah.
And when they came down off the mountain, they caught nothing except the 4 toy leprechauns and the £4,000. I said, there you are, PJ. If there were leprechauns up there, we would have found them today. You can see that on YouTube if you type in Carlingford leprechaun. All of that was recorded the day that my people on the mountain and whatever. You won't recognise me 27 years ago, but I'm there with the credits on underneath my face. So anyway, PJ took the suit and the bones. He put it into a glass case in his pub. It's still over there.
Is it open today?
Oh, it will be. Yeah.
Oh, I want to have lunch there.
Okay. Well, nobody ever saw the 4 pieces of gold again. All we saw was the suit and the bones. He died about 6 years after that, and 2 years after that, I was fixing the wall out here. And I found in it a little leather purse with 4 pieces of gold in it. And I took it up the mountain to where he said he found the suit and the bones. And when I got up there, for the first time in my life, I saw 3 leprechauns sitting on a rock about that size, talking to each other, having a chat. I was comatose, I was frozen, couldn't move. I had a dog with me, he couldn't bark. And eventually they jumped off the rock and disappeared underneath.
What do they look like?
Hold on. I came down, I told my wife I saw 3 leprechauns. She said, you'll be locked up, don't tell anybody. I told everybody. And eventually, after a while, I thought it was my imagination because nobody believed me. Maybe I didn't see them at all. So I went back up again to see could I see them again. And when I went up this time, I saw one. And I was able to talk to him. He told me his name was Corrig. That's an Irish name. It means rock. He told me that there were millions of leprechauns in Ireland at one time and that they had all died because people had stopped believing in them. And that there were only 236 of them left. He asked me, could I get more people to believe so that the rest of them would survive? And I said I'd do what I could. Then he told me he wasn't a leprechaun at all. He told me he was a spirit who manifests himself as a leprechaun to me, but you may see him as an angel, you may see him as a ghost, you may see them in whatever form you were happy to see them in. I saw them as leprechauns. I was happy to see 236 leprechauns come down the mountain, 236 ghosts. I'd have a different outlook. That'd frighten the wits out of me. He told me the story of their lives. I published it in a book called The Last Leprechauns of Ireland. He told me that they were here from the beginning of time. That they were here when the mountains here were created 50 million years ago. That they were here when the Ice Age was here, 16,000 years ago. They created the sea that's out here at the moment. And they were here when the first humans arrived into Ireland 10,000 years ago from Central Europe. And they were here for that whole period of Druidry and kingdoms and whatever in Ireland up until Christianity arrived, and St. Patrick arrived here and sailed up the loch and built a church up here around 432. And they were here when the Vikings sailed in here in 810 and burned the place at least twice. And that was the first time that the leprechaun spirit interacted with the human spirit, because they were so cruel that they decided for the first time in their lives that they would interact with humans, with the human spirit. And they did, and they helped them out, and they resolved never to do it again until the Normans came here in 1190. And they were just as cruel as the Vikings were, as did King John in 1210. That's Magna Carta King John, and Robin Hood King John, if you don't know what Magna Carta is. And right through the centuries, up to the Irish famine in 1845, they kept interacting with the human spirit, and eventually the two spirits became so close together that they virtually fused. And then as Irish people went abroad and became less superstitious and less believing of things of the spirit, a leprechaun spirit that was attached to their own spirit, died until there were only 236 believers left. I lobbied the EU for 6 years and I got them protected as a species. In 2009, under the European Habitats Directive that protects flora, fauna and wild animals, and I got leprechauns added to it on the grounds they couldn't say whether they were there or they weren't there. But in case they were, they came here from Brussels in 2009 and presented us with a preservation order for the 236 that live up there. Ever since, I run the same hunt every year, once a year. Now I do it for charity. We fence off the area that's protected and we put 100 leprechauns up there with €2,000 under them, and we sell leprechaun hunting licenses for a fiver. And everyone meets in the village green. The pipe band takes them through the village and up onto the mountain where they all go mad. And that's on this year. You know, we'll miss that. That's on the 17th of April. So we're expecting 3,000 or 4,000 here for that.
Wow.
Last year, now that includes a world record for the most leprechauns gathered together in the one place. So there'll be suits and beards and all that will be sold. The uniform that goes into the Guinness Book of Records and whatever. Anyway, remember I told you the leprechauns jumped off the rock and disappeared? Well, there's a tunnel that runs the whole way down from the mountain under where you're sitting there and out here underneath the ground. And there's another one that runs the whole way underneath the sea over to the Mourne Mountains on the other side to a place called the Fairy Glen. And every morning when the sun comes up over here, all the leprechaun spirits come down through this tunnel, and fairy and earth and tree spirits come up through the other tunnel. And they dance around the rocks down here until the sun rises halfway up in the sky, and then they fuse together and dissipate and go back each morning to where they came from. If you have time, you can stay there tonight and dance with leprechauns and fairies in the morning. Yes? No?
I would, but we can't.
You can't dance, is that it?
No, I can't. That's not a problem. No,
We're
we
headed to
have.
the Hill of Tara.
Sorry?
We're headed to the Hill of Tara.
Oh, you're going to the Hill of Tara? Yeah, it's normally a trip from here. I had Canadians here, I digress, but I had Canadians here about 2 years ago, and they were looking for fairy spirits. And they came here to me and they were dropping crystals everywhere they went, or felt the energy.
Sure.
And the next place they were going after that was to Tara. But anyway. If I had children here, I talk to them about leprechauns and fairies. I don't talk to them about spirit. I tell them that fairies lose their wings every 7 days, and it takes 3 days for them to grow back again. And any that can fly get a lift up on the backs of the animals of the forest. And if they don't get out of the tunnels before the sun's halfway up, they become comatose, like I was when I saw the leprechauns. And they can't move until the morning, until the sun comes and warms the spirit in them. And then moved back again. Yesterday there was a badger stuck in it, and a couple of rabbits. And this morning there's a fox stuck in it, and 2 owls, and a squirrel and a hedgehog. I have 4 gifts. 1, I can talk to them anytime I want. I do that through the practice of shamanism. I'm a shaman. I'm a conduit between the human and the spirit world. I'm always happy. I'm always healthy. And the 4th gift I have, and each of the pieces of gold gives me a gift. The 4th one is the best of them, and I can't tell you that or I lose the other 3. But if I'm to pass them on to humankind, I have to do it 3 hours before I die to the eldest of a family of 7 sons. And as luck would have it, I have 7 sons and 2 daughters. Are you all single? You're looking for men?
We are looking for some fine strap-in Irishmen.
Yeah. Anyway, they're all taken at this stage.
Well, that's unhelpful.
Anyway, I have 7 sons, and the eldest fella doesn't want the gifts. He figures that if I hand over the gifts to him, I could live to be 120 and be miserable and unhappy for the rest of my life. And he figures that because I have the gift of good health, I'm not going to get the 3 hours. I'm going to pop like that. So he doesn't want me to have them. He wants me to be happy and content. So I've told the leprechauns, and they've told me to check anybody who comes down in here into the cavern, to check them and see, are they psychic? Will they be able to talk to leprechauns when they get older? But if you have the gift, it doesn't kick in until I die. And you'll know how I'm dead if you have the gift. You'll hear the word Driocht. You'll hear that voice in your head, Driocht. It's a Gaelic word, it means magic. When you hear that, the leprechaun will appear to you in whatever form you were happy with. As an angel, or as a leprechaun, or as a ghost, whatever turns you on, that's what it is. That's the story. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So we're ready to go out here. Anyone
What do they
there?
look like?
Sorry?
What do they look like when you tell what happens? Is it kind of the image that we get in the media? Or
I see them, they're spirits who manifest themselves to me in the image that I'm happy to see them in.
Oh yeah.
So they can look like a woman if you want. I see them as men in red beards and green hats and just the stereotype leprechaun.
Like your...
Yes, although he's smaller than that. Yeah, he's smaller than that. But you can see them in whatever form you want to see them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I was wondering, like, do you have any, like, do you ever talk to folks who are highly skeptical of yours?
Everybody.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah, you don't seem like
Everyone's
a
skeptical
bother.
about
Sure. Exactly. Yeah.
I'd ask you, do you believe in God? And you tell me you do or you don't.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that do, or
Exactly.
a lot of people that don't.
Yeah.
About 50-50.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
most things. Everything's 50-50. Yeah, everyone has an argument I'm making. Yeah, I get loads, but then I get loads who are not skeptical.
Totally. Yeah.
And I get loads of children here. I get hen parties here who come just to be entertained.
Sure, yeah.
So I get all sorts. I had a guy here from Peru about 8 months ago. He phoned me. He was a shaman, and he's guru to about 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And he heard that I was one, and I was talking to these little people on the mountain here. He said he wanted to come and see me. He did with about 18 of his followers. He only spoke Spanish, of course,
Yeah.
and he had a German girl who was able to translate for him. And 18 of them came with him, and they were all around here, and I told them the story, and then we went out here. And on the way over, he told me that in their culture, that the dragonfly is sacred to them, and the spirit of their ancestors travels in the dragonfly.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went out here and looked down the fairy tunnel, first thing he saw were 2 dragonflies, and he fell on his knees, out here. He told me it was the spirit of his mother and father. And they were all hugging each other and crying with happiness down there. And then he went around the rocks blowing the spirit of his ancestors around the place. So I get that fellow.
Sure, yeah. yeah.
I get every type of person, because there's such a variety of people in the world.
So so I associate shamanism with like healing.
Yeah, I can't heal.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I can project happiness.
You can project happiness. Yeah.
Although people did do phone here looking to see can I heal people.
Sure, yeah.
I can't do any of that.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Has your family been supportive of this path that you've taken?
It's not a path. It's not a path. I'm retired.
Yeah.
I love the story.
Yeah.
So they're not, of course, they're not skeptical. They all
Sure.
live around here. The only way I could get them out of the house was to give them sites all around me. So any house you see around here is one of mine.
Nice.
And there's 18 grandchildren there, so they're all coming and going.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Good crew.
What?
Good solid crew.
There's a good
Yeah.
solid crew there.
You could have
I
a-
couldn't care
you could
less
have a-
whether they believe me or not.
Yeah.
You know.
You could have
Sorry?
like a 2 football teams. With
Yeah,
that kind
nearly,
of-
Nearly, yeah. There's a horse out here because it's cold. I would normally do this when I'm out there. There's a horse out there. It's called the Fairy Horse of Mountain Park.
Yeah.
I won't tell you the folklore associated with him, but he was stolen about a year and a half ago. 2 boys with a white van out there at 4:30 in the morning stole the horse, and they tried to steal the bull, which is known as the brown bull of Cooley. I'll come to that in a minute. It was too heavy, and they stole a cement mixer from along the hedge.
Huh.
So I rang a girl I know that syndicates for the national newspapers here, writes stories for them. I said, Elaine, someone's after stealing my fairy horse, and I've put a curse on them.
Well,
And she said, that's great, I'll do a story on that. So the next day she had a full page in the Sun newspaper. Here. Curse on whoever has stolen this fairy horse, with a photograph of it. And the following morning I got a phone call to say that the horse was left back onto the statue of St. Bridget over in a place called Fahart, outside of, just outside of Dundalk. There's a shrine out there.
yeah.
So I rang her to tell her the good news. She said, that's great, I'll do another story. So she did a full page again in the Sun. Curse works, fairy horse returned.
Nice. Awesome.
And in the story I told her the curse was still on whoever had my cement mixer. And I got that back on this Saturday night. The police in Dundalk phoned me to tell me that somebody got shot in the foot off the Avenue Road in Dundalk, and when they went down to investigate, they found my cement mixer and 3 stolen cars in the back of the house.
Huh.
So it worked fine.
Yeah.
And there are 2 stones out here. They're called proposal stones.
Yeah.
They were used in the 14th and 15th century. They would have been found at fairy forts and fairy mounds and fairy trees, of which there are still piles of them in Ireland. You'll see a fairy tree normally in the middle of a field. It'll always be a hawthorn, and the farmer won't cut it. He tell you he doesn't believe in fairies, but he
You
won't
still
cut
won't cut it. Yeah.
He'll go round it or up or round it or whatever. And I think there's a motorway over in Tara, same thing happened over there. But anyway, we got 2 of them. They fell into disuse because the church got worried about superstitious Irish believing in stuff like that and fairies. And they fell into disuse. They moved them in closer to monasteries and churches, and nobody sat on them. We got one from the fairy glen in Rostrevor and one from a fairy fort up here.
Yeah.
And we put them out there, and we had, in the last 2.5 years, we had 32 proposals out there. I have a box out there with 4, I put 4 rings in it. Genuine Chinese titanium Celtic rings. And,
I just looked in there. There's 3.
sorry?
There's 3 right now. I just looked in
Did
there.
you notice, did you read the board?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It says you can leave a subscription of €15.
Yeah.
Or you can take them for nothing, but if you take them for nothing, you'll have no luck in your relationship.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
someone's
yeah.
having a
So
bad day.
Somebody might be having a bad one.
You want to try that?
I do have a question for you. So we've been talking to a lot of people, a lot about, well, a variety of people about Banshee, and it sounds like from like just generally gathering information, talking to people, it seems like the older generation, or there are a lot more belief in the Banshee, and then a lot of middle-aged and younger people are more skeptical. And you alluded to the idea of this kind of changing in the history as far as people believing in the existence of Leprechaun. And I was wondering,
Or spirit.
or spirits,
That
sure,
applies to religion
yeah, yeah.
as well.
No, I agree,
Yeah.
and I sense that. I sense that in my culture as well, with
Yeah.
belief. And I wonder if you have any thoughts from your perspective about what's contributing to that change in belief and superstition in society, or even in Ireland for that matter, regarding the Banshee. You have any thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, journalists.
Okay, journalism. Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah.
All the things that attack everything that's everything that's religious, anything that is of the spirit, anything that they can't understand or put a finger on.
Yeah.
Because everything now you can understand. There's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
Although still in space, they're still discovering the next
Sure.
black hole or the next energy or the next, and where's that going and what's that? We don't know. We don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
It's a lot more complicated.
Mhm.
Most of us live for the moment. A lot of us don't believe we're going anywhere after we die.
Mhm.
I do.
Sure. Yeah.
I respect everybody that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
One of us is in for a surprise.
one or the other, or not.
Or not. Anyway, so I'm going on a two-way bet. I'm going on a
50-50 is pretty good.
50-50 is as good as I can get.
Yeah.
So I'll go with that.
Yeah, I like
yeah.
it. I like it.
So you know yourself that
Sure,
every
yeah.
every cultures are changing and
Yeah.
everything being examined. And
Yeah.
people want to. I mean, I'm going back to the earliest in terms of Christianity. Thomas said, "Unless I see him, I will not believe," or whatever. And as I put my fingers into the wounds, I won't believe. You know.
Sure.
And if people don't have the same experience as I have, that's fine.
Yeah.
It may be emotional, it may be, I don't know, it can be anything. I'm happy to believe that it's the spirit.
Yeah. Good on you. Yeah.
So I personally don't care, I'm just looking after myself.
That's good.
Did you, growing up, were your parents, did they pass down folklore and stories, and did you grow up listening to?
No, I didn't. No, we were hammered. We were hammered in classrooms when we were growing up. It was fairly cruel existence. And I suppose, and parents thought that was normal because they grew up
Sure.
they grew
Yeah.
up in the same
Exactly.
environment and whatever. So no, not at all. My father was a lawyer, and it was a different age, a different society. You were quieter. You didn't have opinions. He had the opinions, and he passed on. But you didn't have access to everything. Every single thing that you need to know, it's there. You know, right now it's your thing. So many things I could contradict him on now that he was wrong about. But no. Our upbringing was pretty tough. Now, having said that, that was the same with everybody.
Sure.
You were hammered. You were just hammered.
That's just the way it went. Yeah.
It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
When I go up to the school now with your grandchildren, you see all these lovely pictures around, you say, my God, where were they in our time or whatever. But having said that, it was a great it was a great grounding. And I often think now, I had this discussion with one of my sons the other day. We learned the catechism in the same way as children are learning the Quran now.
Yeah.
You had to know it verbatim, off by
Sure.
heart.
Yeah.
You know, we went to church and whatever, and you were serving it. You knew everything was in Latin, and you knew all the Latin when you were 10 or 11 or 12. The same as children who are Muslims are reading the Quran now, and it's been battered into them or whatever.
Right.
But all that will evolve and change.
Yeah.
You know.
So is there a chance for, since you're saying there's only the 236 spirits that are remaining,
Yeah.
is they
Will there be more?
they have increased since?
No. And the number of people who believe have increased, and that ensures their survival. You can't, spirits don't.
So we
won't
lose them, we lose
recreate.
them.
We lose them, you lose them, yeah.
So now we just want to hold on to the last.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have we lost any since?
No, I'm into
Good.
since we started, we're into the hundreds of thousands of believers at this stage. Yeah.
Good.
It's not a church. We're
No.
not Scientology or anything like that. We're not a church. We're just happy. You don't have to believe anything.
Neat.
There's a bull out there. That's the brown bull of Cooley. This is Cooley, the Cooley Peninsula. It would be one of the most important pieces of literature written in the 4th century here in Ireland. It's the story of Queen Maeve and King Athol, who lived 2,000 years ago in the west of Ireland. And Maeve said to her husband, let's look at our possessions and see which of us have the most. He says, what's the point in doing that? He said, I want to know. She says, I want to know. So they sorted out what they had, and they had both equal amounts in terms of possession, except that he had a white bull called Fionn Bianach. And she was very jealous, and she heard that there was a brown bull down here in Cooley that is bigger than his white bull. So she sends her armies down here, down to the north, and the north is protected by a warrior called Cuchulainn. And he fights them off one by one. She's very impressed with his bravery, and she decides